Hey everybody, One of Wisdom here. It is now Tuesday the 24th, I guess, of June, technically Monday night. It's like 3 in the morning. This is when I have free time. This is when I can do this stuff. I will tell you right now, this is going to be a long video. I will also tell you, if you watch the video, you will learn things that I don't believe anyone else has mentioned. In part because no one else probably bothered to ask or was persistent enough to gather some of this information. I will also tell you I will have a follow-up to this video. Kind of ideas that I pitched to people. It got to that point, I was asking so many questions and there was so little information that could be revealed. I got to pitch some stuff for people, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that. I'll also go ahead, I haven't gotten time to do it, but I will make kind of like the general E3. I've had, like I said, so many people ask, what do you do there? You know, like, did you meet anyone? Did you meet Rob? All that type of stuff. I'll still make that. Essentially what happens, I know a lot of people that do YouTube videos, it's all they do. Some of them are students, and in the summer they might not have a heavy class load, if any at all. I have a job, a real job, and I have to go there. In addition to that, I have other hobbies and interests. I don't have a lot of free time. That's why I do this stuff late. That said, back before E3, just like I did last year, I went in and I asked, what do you want to know? Again, I realized if not for you, pretty good chance I wouldn't get to be going to E3 and try to gather information. So most of the people there, you know, they kind of try to get information, balance it with gameplay, balance it with, you know, vlogging and yada yada. I'm honestly more interested in the information. You could probably pick up on that last year, and subsequently that's why I go out of my way and try to find out what other people want to know. Most of it overlaps. It's consensus of what I want to know. Some of you have things that are off the wall. Some of you have really good stuff I didn't think of. Bottom line, if you asked a question, be it on my site, oneofwisdom.com, here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Google+. I've got stuff coming in from all those outlets. Some people have my email. I still don't know how some people got my email address, but had email questions. And of course, I posted up on Dark Spiral. Stuff you wanted to know. Got a lot of feedback there. If you asked a question, there's very, very good chance that you will be mentioned in this video. Will I butcher your name or your username? There's a very high chance of that, but you might be mentioned. Literally, I had the, iPad with me last year, chock full of questions, and, cool thing last year, it was kind of the same thing. I didn't learn a whole heck of a lot, but then the actual guys from Vicarious Visions showed up, and it was like a treasure trove of information. Almost nothing was off limits with those dudes. Very, very cool, super down to earth, not at all what you would expect from two guys that are basically on top of the world with what they're doing. You had questions, they had answers. It was incredibly awesome. That said, as you should know, things with Trap Team have been very different, very hush-hush. I've covered it before. I think what they're trying to do is withhold a lot of information. I think a lot of the game is still kind of in flux. They take the feedback they get from their test groups so seriously. They actually come in, and I think they're willing this late in the game to make like pretty significant changes if the test groups seem to indicate that's the best thing to do. Not a lot of people are that dedicated to user feedback. I will say, and this will benefit some of you and hurt some of you, but the test groups that they value are in fact, young children. That's who they feel is their target audience. It's who they feel is going to move the game. So if you're like me, late 20s, early 20s, I don't know, 45 years old, whatever it may be, they're not as concerned with what you want to see as they are with what is a family of four that has a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old going to do with the new game. Other thing they want to really highlight, just each installment is going to have a brand new mechanism of, some people call it a gimmick. In this case, it's, playing as the villains. That's really what they want to highlight. This year at E3, they went to great lengths to basically highlight that. Exactly what they wanted featured, talked about, broadcast. Hey, you can capture villains, you can play as villains. And here's a small sampling of some of the new characters. That's what they wanted to focus on. E3, they got to control that. And plus, like I said, I truly believe that their goal is simply to drive home trap and play as villains, a few new characters, and just keep that as the focus for right now. So very, very hard to get the information, particularly in the regards of what we had last year. I'm just going to go ahead and start with some of the stuff I had. This is stuff, a lot of this I thought I'd get answers to, and I did not. So we're going to get started. My thing, is there a difference between Toys for Bobs and the Beanox version of the game? I asked about 4 different people. Every time the answer was the same. Obviously well-coached, well-versed PR executives, whoever it was. They're not talking about that. If you recall, last year, the Wii version, totally, I mean, there's things that you can do on the Wii U that you cannot do on the Wii. You know, teddy bears are missing, certain lock puzzles are missing, and it's replaced with vases. Some cutscenes weren't there. Reason to me, that was my first question. Toys for Bob, the people that came up with the entire concept of Skylanders, they're actually developing the game for the Wii, PS3, 360, kind of like your last generation of consoles. Beanox will be handling the ports to the next gen, and that's kind of what made me wonder, will the games be exactly the same? Will the only enhancement be the graphics? Is Beanox going to be doing some great stuff that you can't possibly do on the older consoles? Probably that's limiting it back to the Wii. There's just some things, like in terms of the cutscenes, I think last year they said it could not graphically handle. But that they are not talking about. Here's another thing I thought I'd get an answer to. Will the Wii U still utilize the GamePad for character stats? Some of you on different consoles don't care about this. The GamePad for the Wii U, you know, it's what you're sitting here using. You've got the giant screen here. What it did is you essentially had different things that would show up. Like if I'm in here in Chapter 3 playing, you would see your character. We'll just say you're playing as Rattleshake. If he levels up, you see his health increase. If you unlock a hat and you put it on, you see what it did. It's actually really cool. Now, what I can tell you, when I recorded gameplay of P. Diddy Sports Cards, when I played it myself, I played on the Wii U version fittingly, it actually showed the gameplay. Now, for those of you that own a Wii U, you think, okay, sweet, now it's going to be off-screen. Essentially like with first-party Nintendo titles, if you've got one TV in the house, your parents want to watch a movie, and you want to play Super Mario 3D World, you can play on the GamePad screen, and they can use the TV to watch their movie. So, is that what we're seeing? Is it just a demo? Have they done away with the stat screen? I don't know. I asked. No answer. That to me is something that, you know, should have been kind of hashed out, and really no harm in saying, oh yeah, it's going to be like last year, dude, don't worry about it. So no answers there. 3DS Starter Pack, will it incorporate different characters? Also, will one be exclusive to the 3DS Starter Pack? That goes back to Dark Spyro and SSA, Punch Pop Fizz and Giants, and then this time around Volcanic Eruptor. No information. In fact, everything, I'm kind of the 3DS guy. I don't know if anyone else that even attends E3 in our group plays a 3DS. I do. And I have all of the previous titles on the 3DS, and not a single word was spoken regarding the 3DS. Kind of disturbing. As you know, it should be a totally different storyline. And I got nothing. That kind of then was a bummer when I wanted to know this. Will the 3DS version still feature the character roster found in Swap Force? That was the biggest improvement to the handheld installments. Again, some of you watching this probably don't even care because you don't have a 3DS, but Chaos, who you can now kind of see back there, on the portal right there, that's the 3DS portal for Swap Force. Chase McCain is hidden also, by the way. Not very difficult to find. That's not the emphasis of this video. Essentially, in Giants, you know, you could have like 2 characters active, and you'd have to go in just like SSA, and if you want to play as Hot Dog and Shroom Boom, you put them in, and the problem is the next level has special Earth and Tech zones, so you have to use your portal again. The way it works, there's a little deal on the portal. Let me move Mr. Chaos, the hero of Skylands. Right there. That's what you line up with the 3DS. It scans your characters in, you know, and you had to do that. Now, obviously, the 3DS is designed to be portable. You don't want to lug all of this around with you. Even in the awesomest, most coolest, most useful PowerA cases, that's a bit ridiculous to carry your entire collection, even one of each element. Gets to be crazy. So, That to me, it was huge. It's like the training grounds to me in the console version. I asked if that was coming back. No comment. We are not talking about the 3DS version. It was E3. The game launches in October. That's like 4 months later. I don't know if there's going to be like some huge special reveal for the 3DS. I mean, they'd have to kind of like say, hey, here's the story on the 3DS version. At some point in time, I would think it would certainly be advantageous or to highlight what's cool and different in it. So, who knows? And that's why I like the little picture with Gusto and everything in the 3DS starter pack, supposedly. I'd be hesitant on that because how that would get leaked when they won't tell me if the character roster feature comes back, mind-boggling. Somebody's probably got fired over that if it turns out to be legit. Let's see here. How will the crystals be made available outside of the 2 in the starter pack? Single packs just like this, $5.99. Figured that out. My issue is I want to save money. I want at least 1 per element. Make an 8-pack. I hit Scott Krager up with that. He said they're considering things. I truly believe if I threw that out there and that's something they had talked about, he might go back and be like, hey, that guy that asked way too many questions actually brought that up. Maybe we should consider the 8-pack. They truly, truly value the feedback. Whether or not it gets incorporated, that remains to be seen. But to me, I don't want to come in here on launch day and have to go into Toys R Us and fish through all 8 and find the different sculpts that I want and everything. I'd just like to be able to say, oh, look, it's an 8-pack and I'm going to save $8 over buying them individually, So I truly believe, will we see singles, doubles, 4s, 8s, sets? Who knows? But I do know single packs will be available. I spent like 20 minutes covering why I think this is the final packaging, and I had one person say it was. Everyone else said it was off limits, couldn't talk about it. But $5.99 single packs will for sure exist, and hopefully we get doubles or 8-packs or something that'll kind of help us save a little bit of money. Particularly if you want 1 trap for each villain. Obviously the bulk route's going to save you money. How many villains can be held per crystal? 1. It is not 4, it is not 2, it is not 7, it's not 8, it is 1. So if you come in and you love Riot Shield Shredder, keep him on this crystal. If you capture him and you're like, that's kind of lame, I think the Chompy Mage is in this next chapter, go ahead, put him in the villain vault, clear this crystal out, and just reuse it. That's something I want to highlight. It is 1 per villain. 1 villain per trap, but you can use the traps over and over and over again, with the only catch being the villain vault, which I think is only accessible between levels. Not something you can go to the pause menu and switch out. That again is the incentive for the hardcore people, or at least those that like a couple of villains. Maybe from each element you're going to want to have 2-3 crystals, so your favorite life element villains are always available. Is it possible in 2-player mode to both play as a villain? I don't think so. That's one of those questions I knew I wasn't going to get an answer to. Since the portal just has the 1 slot, I'm going to go ahead and say if I'm Terrafin, my nephew Slam Bam, and we've got Riot Shield Shredder, he can play as Riot Shield or I could play as Riot Shield. It's not an issue where I could be Wolfgang and he could be Pinata. So, and again, that kind of tied in at the time. So many people were saying 4 villains per, trap, all that jazz. So I'm inclined to believe it's just the no on that. Now, my next deal, and again, a lot of you might start supporting this since you know that there's no online, which we'll cover later. Will there be a single-player battle mode? And I don't mean solo survival. That's not single-player battle mode to me, and I went over this with some of the guys. If I love Terrafin, and I want to go through and people say, man, Starstrike is so OP, no one can beat Starstrike, I want to go in and record myself beating Starstrike with Terrafin. If people say, man, you cannot beat Doomstone in PvP, he's a beast, I want to go in and beat Doomstone in PvP. The issue is, if my nephew isn't here, I can't play battle mode. I can't play Skylander versus Skylander. And that to me really, really sucks. Because once I've beaten the game and I've gotten all the collectibles, I've played it with all the different combinations and configurations and what have you, The biggest replay value in this game lies in the PvP, not solo survival, not a bonus mission, but in Slam Bam versus Fright Rider, Ghost Roaster versus Camo. That's what people will always be into. That's why when Shroom Boom comes back this time with a Wow Pal, and Gilgrunt's got a new one, and we've got the new landers that might be really salty like Starstrike, that's what people want to see. That's what you will play before, during, and after you are absolutely sick of the story mode. That's basically online. For those of you, that say, hey, I'm in the same boat, my brother or sister doesn't want to play, I'm 35 years old and I don't have anyone to play with unless a friend comes over, which is only weekends, and I want to play it Tuesday night. Single player battle mode takes care of that. It's essentially the step before online, in my opinion. And again, it would have to be a deal. It needs to be like Brawl, where I can come in, I put Slam Bam on the portal, or I have a roster of my available collection that I can cycle through. I'm going to play a Slam Bam, I want to battle Freeze Blade. And then it needs to have the varying difficulties, just like Brawl. I could set, if I want to just slaughter somebody, I set it to 1. If I want to get slaughtered, I put it on 10. If I want to slowly build my way up, I start at 3, move to 5, then 8, and then before long, I'm able to beat Starstrike or Freeze Blade or whoever it may be. I will cover this in immense detail because it is something that I pitched, and it kind of was somewhat listened to and somewhat received fairly well. And the issue was, how is that different than, like going in and doing it against an enemy, battling solo survival, or maybe a villain rematch or something? And I said, it's totally different. That's a Skylander versus an enemy, or a set challenge. I want, and what everyone else wants, is Skylander versus Skylander. And again, I will cover that in greater detail here coming up. Okay, now this is one I did get an answer to. Will there be a special role for giants like Granite Crusher, or Swap Force characters like Rattleshake and Blast Zone in Skylanders Trap Team? The answer, shockingly, was no. And I even phrased it, we had giants 2 games ago, and then in this installment in Swap Force, the giants, didn't have as big of a role, but there were like certain chests, that only they could open. I thought maybe there'd be like certain areas only like a swapper of a certain ability could open. They said no, definitively, and I got follow-up on that. Basically what they said is, in their test groups, what they've noticed now, this will be the 4th game, mind you, what they've seen is that, kids were all about Slam Bam when he was brand new, but when Rattleshake came out, all of a sudden, kids want to play as Rattleshake, and they want to play as Blast Zone, and they want to play as Doomstone, and they're not going to pick up Dino Ring from SSA. They don't pick up Crusher from Giants. They want to go with this. So when the Trap Masters are out, and the new Skylanders, if I had Snapshot here, kids that have played the game, they're going to come in and be like, oh wow, Snapshot, look, he's cool and new. And poor T-Rex is just going to sit there and collect dust. So it's something that they have observed time after time after time with these test groups that they value so much. I heard the guys at Vicarious Visions talk about this, and all the interviews I see. Toys for Bob talks about it. They bring kids in all the time, and what they've noticed, they don't go back. They want what's new. And that's kind of why the emphasis at E3 is, hey, look at the Trap Master, and hey, look at Food Fight, the new character, and oh yeah, the catch this year, you can trap and play as villains, which is awesome. So, no special role for a Swapper, and no special role for a Giant. Will they be playable? Absolutely, but in terms of like, oh hey, I'm progressing through Chapter 3, and here's an area for a Speed Swap Force character, not gonna happen. Oh look, here's a treasure chest, but I have to have T-Rex to get it. Nope. They'll be playable, they'll get the life bonuses, for your elemental zones and everything, but nothing special and specific just for them, which, again, I was kind of surprised by. I thought they would want you to reach back in your chest and have to pick a giant out to do something, and be like, oh wow, look, I can still use my speed character for this. So that to me was kind of a surprise, really. Let's see, then of course, I tried so freaking hard to get answers to this. Last year when I asked it, I specifically asked, hey, will the 8 Castaways are they going to come back in Swap Force? And then they're like, huh? And I said, you know, like Mornado, Dino Ring, Ghost Roaster. And then the eyes lit up, and it's like, yes. Can't tell you who or how, but they will be back. And of course, we got Light Core, Warnado, etc. I tried so freaking hard to get answers to that, and I could not. As you know, some of my favorite characters to date remain the 8 original SSA Castaways. Of those, we have some that still, even in the third game Swap Force, have not gotten a repos. As such, Dino Ring, Ghost Roaster, Voodoo, Boomer. No information. I did, you can see this in the interview with Scott. I said, hey, so I'm a big fan of the Castaways. I'm going to come in here. I can put Ghost Roaster on the portal, and he's got the new, jump attack. That's correct. So if nothing else, even if we don't see these 4 guys again, or like better reiteration of Mornado, we at least will have something new for these people. So I suppose that's better than nothing. And then, of course, in Giants, you had characters like Fright Rider not come back. So something interesting after hours, it was Lou. I was again kind of inquiring about Boomer, and something he joked about is like he swears Blast Zone is the reincarnation of Boomer. So for those of you deep into conspiracy theories, you can run with that. And I mean, it does make sense. It kind of seems that way, but I don't know. I mean, it's worth a conspiracy theory if you're a big Boomer fan. And I've tried so hard to get answers to, does it have to do with sales? I remember Boomer did not sell. I remember kids emailing me. At the time, SSA, it was like me and Rob from CoinOp were like the only 2 people doing this stuff. I had so many comments like, hey, one of Wisdom, can you please tell my mom Ghost Roaster's not bad? I really want Darklight Crypt, but my mom thinks he looks evil. I don't know if that stuff weighs into it. I would love more information. I'd love to really go to Toys for Bob with some of these questions and just kind of try to formulate how they pick this stuff out, how the legendaries and dark characters are actually picked. And that matter, how they pick out who gets chase variants and whatnot. It's just kind of, all that stuff is of great interest to me. That said, didn't get any answers, so that's kind of a bummer. Now, light core characters, as you know, I have a sermon on those things. I preach that to anyone that would listen. My issue is the light core characters cost more. You come in and you upgrade. They have the flash bomb effect, which happens initially, which is not cool in my opinion. I realize nightmare mode, or if you have you're having trouble in an area, that's awesome. But for an advanced player, it really sucks. But what sucks for everyone is they do not have a WoW pal, and that's a horrible way to bring any character back. Poor Warnado, one of my favorite characters of all time, he comes back, and I was absolutely devastated when I learned it was a light core without a standard pose to supplant that. Why? It's the same thing. He does not get the WoW pal that he should have as a repost character. Something that I push for every light core character, they need to A, have the flippin' WoW pal when applicable. Now, if it's a brand new game like Bumble Blast in Swap Force, that's his first pose. I don't expect him to have a WoW pal. But, for the characters that return as a light core, they by gosh better have one, because it defeats the purpose of getting them if they don't. That, especially in Giants when you had the light cores, it was always better to have the straight up Series 2 as opposed to the light core, because it was a superior character. The other thing I said is they need to make the flash bomb be rechargeable. That's going to help your younger players, your rookie players, those having trouble. And I think it should be based on XP. Now, let's say you get to level 20 and you're maxed out and you can't level up anymore. Whenever you collect a certain amount of XP, I think it should refill. It needs its own button assignment. So if I'm going through and I put light core on at the start of an area and there's no enemies, I don't need the flash bomb effect then. Whenever I get in a tough bind and I'm about to die, or I've got some really tough enemies, a bunch of spell punks, then let me, the player, execute the flash bomb effect. And again, I told that to many, many people. At this point in time, we don't even know if light cores are coming back. And I think part of the reason that they might not be coming back is because they didn't sell, and it's because people don't buy them because they don't have a WoW pal. And it's such a simple fix. Keep the light cores, even keep them at the $2 more than a regular figure. Make them light up, keep that part cool. Just make them a superior figure. All you have to do that is give them the WoW pal and make the flash bomb be user executed or at least rechargeable. And I think that solves the issue. Then the light cores will sell because they will then become the better figure to have. So, and again, I've covered that so many times in the playthrough, it's not even funny anymore. Will there be adventure packs or battle packs? Absolutely no answer. They are not talking about that yet. So again, that's something that I don't expect you to tell me, oh yeah, dude, we're doing this awesome new battle pack. We found out people didn't like this and they wanted that. Or, oh yeah, we're going to bring back 4 adventure packs. Just a simple yes or no I thought would have been cool. you know or I don't expect like names and, oh yeah, this is going to have a new magic element character, it's going to have your location piece, it's going to do this and that, 2 magic items. Just yes or no, and I couldn't even get that. So is the portal wired? I assumed it would be. It is wired. The volume control, I never could find it, but they tell me it'll be there, so that'll be cool. And the portal actually looks really, really slick. That was my rambling there. My nephew was curious about Slam Bam and Freeze Blade coming back. I knew I couldn't ask that, so I hit Scott up at the end of the interview. I said, hey, my nephew's 2 favorite characters, Slam Bam and Freeze Blade, and I kind of got to get his personal feelings on each character. And what's cool, and the way you can tell he's passionate about the series, he actually remembered getting them delivered in concept form. So that speaks volumes for that. It's always good when you have executives and people higher up the ladder that actually care about this type of stuff. So that kind of put the warm and fuzzy feelings in there. Can you capture old villains? That was my nephew's other. Couldn't get that.